Hi, I'm Christi Idavoy, Polestar Educator, and I'd like to talk today about some tips that we can keep in mind when we're pregnant and still teaching Pilates. So as you move into your pregnancy, even in the early stages of pregnancy, you might find that you're a bit absent-minded and feeling a little loopy or dizzy, and it might be challenging to plan a session the way that you would otherwise. So what I've found very helpful is to think in terms of planning out a series or a sequence of exercises rather than trying to commit to an entire hour-long session. So if I know I'm going to want to do a lot of things where I have a client supine on the trap table, for example, I'll think about what that series will look like, even if it's only 2, 3, or 4 exercises, and make sure that I've set up my crossbar and my springs before I start so that I don't have to have that awkward moment of now my client is sprung up on the table and I've got to figure out how I'm going to climb over them, and it could get a little clumsy. So thinking just in terms of planning out shorter parts of your session rather than what am I going to do for this whole hour, because the truth is that you might very well forget as you're going through the session. Whether you're teaching class using the trap table or the reformer or the chair even, or a combination of all of them, it's really good to get out of the habit of bending over and instead start squatting down. So for example, if I want to go into the basket under the trapeze table, I'm going to come into a squat and I'll maneuver my body from my hips and my lower extremities rather than wanting to move in my trunk. So I would twist and then pull the basket out to take whatever it is I'm going to need as I'm setting up the equipment. So climbing on the trap table as you progress in your pregnancy might become a little cumbersome and clumsy. So what I found really helpful is to hold on to the bar here, to the frame, take my, in this case, trapeze with me, and I'll climb on and first come on to kneeling and then shift to face the crossbar, hold on to the top, and then come up to standing, so that I'm not trying to do any weird acrobatics and risk losing my balance and toppling over. Once you have your trapeze bar on and you want to move the crossbar, it's very helpful to keep your body close to whatever it is you're moving, whether you're walking forward or pulling it back. I wouldn't want to stand back here and then start tugging it towards me, because that is just going to apply and more stress through my center. And we really want to have as little stress as possible throughout the process. So I would just leave the trap set up that way and then climb back down just the same way that I got up. Hope that helps. So when you're working on the chair and it's heavily sprung to do maybe standing work, it's really important. It's always important, but now even more so because your center of gravity is quite different than it usually is, to make sure that when you press the pedal down for a client, that you're really doing it in a way where it's not going to create a big shift or send a lot of stress through your pelvic area, your SI area, which can sometimes be pretty susceptible to hypermobility. So you just want to make sure that when you do press the pedal down, you're really doing it because you're just letting gravity and your body weight helping you press rather than trying to use your strength. So if you do have a heavy teaching schedule and you tend to see 4 or 6 clients back to back, it's a really good idea to have a stool or a high box close by where you can take breaks during sessions while you continue to teach. And when you sit down, it's a great place for you to kind of rock back and forth, just to make sure that you're keeping things mobile and just preventing any stress that might build up during the day that'll create a lot of exhaustion and potential backache towards the end of the day and into the evening. One thing I love to do while I'm sitting and teaching is sneak in a hip stretch just by bringing my ankle up and making sure that my bottom leg is at a 90-degree angle. That way I can keep even pressure through my bottom foot as I gently lean forward, and it feels like a really good release on the hips, which tend to get achy because we're just not used to carrying around this much extra weight. So there's just a couple of tips that might come in handy.